Yeah, go ahead.
So many thoughts that came up as you're describing this experience. One side note that came up while you were describing that in terms of the binary, right? The dichotomy between body and mind, for example, masculine and feminine parts of ourself, we might say. When we're in a high stress load, let's call it a survival mode response in your body, the mind tends to go to binaries. And I think this is a genius adaptation, because if there's, a wild animal that is about to attack you, a wolf, let's say, you don't want to think about, should I run? Should I take this thing and defend myself? You don't want to think it through. You just act, right? Binaries allow us to survive. So there's a purpose in that. But it brings me to this bigger picture thought as you're describing this experience of how walking Labyrinths is an integration experience. One of the metaphors that I love most about healing trauma is this idea that the event itself, and I'll just quickly clarify for viewers who may not know, there are events that are traumatic, but trauma is how the body continues to respond after the event is over. It's not the event itself. It's how the body continues to respond, and that's where healing comes in. So one of my favorite metaphors for healing trauma is this idea of the event being a catalyst for shattering your reality, your experience. You're overwhelmed. You don't have the resources to cope. And so that metaphorical shattering, you might think of it like a low-resolution TV screen of your younger self, right? And it shatters into hundreds of thousands of pieces, let's say. And the idea of healing, that happens quickly in our quick fix society is very misguided for a lot of reasons. But one reason in particular is that this experience of survival mode that we go into is very much binary, so that we can piece together and examine, like, okay, well, I don't want this to happen again, right? This traumatic experience. Right. And so I'll look at this black and white, this black and white. And after you do a couple of those, you start to realize, wait, this black isn't the same shade as that black. And you start to discover gray in the process, shades of gray, right? And so to complete the metaphor, when you finally go through due diligence of processing all of these shattered pieces and put them back together, think of it like a high-definition TV screen. It's high resolution. You can see so much better. You're more resilient. You have more moving pieces. You have more awareness because of everything that was lost and you put back together through that process, that practice of taking your time to mindfully engage in it, which is a perfect metaphor for what's happening in a labyrinth walk, or the labyrinth walk is a perfect metaphor for healing trauma, you might say. It's this shift from binary, out of survival, to complexity, where you can embrace the paradox rather than having to choose this or that. It's like, how are they both complementary? How is it a yin-yang? Yeah. Right?
And I think you bring up a good point about combating the concept that healing is an immediate thing, that you can have a fix that just immediately just happens, but that it's such a process. And that's one of the things, the benefits that I find in walking Labyrinths, is that it reminds me, the second I step onto it, is, okay, I could just walk across these lines.
Right. There's nothing
these
stopping
rocks, there's nothing really stopping me. There's nothing in my way. But if I want to do this in a way that's going to matter, I have to believe in it, and I have to take every step. And so it kind of just reminds me, even though this might be 15 minutes, or I went on a walk or labyrinth not too far from here just last week. It was about 30 minutes to the inside and then back out.
Wow.
So quite a decent sized 100-foot across. And it reminded me very much immediately that whatever I was feeling in the moment, because I was dealing with a combination of some grief and some holiday issues, that day was just one step in many, many millions of steps in my life. And I've had many positive, great days, and I've had a lot that are darker and cloudier. But overall, that continuation towards the space of being whole, that's often what I think of the inner sanctum wholeness. Being for me is that wholeness. Eventually it's there. I can't exactly quantify how long it'll take for my life to get there, but that's the plan. And every step I can actually see, there are edges being taken off. There are those shatterings that we need to go through to go from low resolution, black and white shades of gray to high resolution, active, exploring life.